As you all know, this is a very special program where we read prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam, where the pure devotees are praying to Lord Shri Krishna. And these are very, very beautiful prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam. Currently, the theme which is going on is prayers of Nagapatnis. These prayers are from Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 16, from verse 33 to 53. Devotees share the verses and their understanding and realizations for these prayers. Today, we have a very wonderful devotee who will be presenting the verses and share the realizations. Today, we have Prabhakaran Prabhu presenting. Hare Krishna Prabhu, over to you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the introduction. I want to open up by thanking Satisara Prabhu, Jai Subhadra Mataji, Veena Mataji, and Radha Damodar Prabhu for providing us a platform for not only purifying ourselves but also the platform for helping the listeners purify as well, right? So when we hear Lord's pastimes, it not only purifies the speaker but also purifies the listener. So thank you for providing such a platform, and it's really an honor to be here. So thank you so much. Let me offer quick prayers to Prabhupada, and then we can get started. So Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitanamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. Congrati Vachalam Pangum Langate Green Yat Kripatana Mandesh Kuru Tina Taranam Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gatadara Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavranga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Right. So with that, let's get started. Today we're going to hear about how Krishna subdued Khalia, and how Khalia's wives prayed to Krishna, and that's called the prayers of Nagapatnis, and how they were all being relieved from the miseries. So most of you are, I see on the call, are pretty advanced devotees. So you might have heard this many times in your life as a devotee. So I'm not going to go over every verse of the prayers, but my plan is to narrate the pastime, and then there are some specific sections of the pastime that I believe provides more insights about the Lord than the literal meaning of those prayers, right? So of course the literal meaning of the prayers are important, but apart from that, we can get a lot of deep insights into those pastimes and workings of the Lord. So my realizations are going to be oriented towards that, but not repeating what you heard many times. So I hope this gives you something new to look for. And as we go through this pastimes and prayers, we're going to stop and look deep dive into some of those sections, and then move on. And we're going to end this realization discourse with answer to a question, which you might have wondered: why did Krishna did not kill Khalia? Right. So Khalia is a demon, and Krishna has incarnated to kill demons, right? But Krishna killed many demons like Kamsa and other Kamsa, Dhenukasura. We have many demons Krishna killed, but he didn't kill Khalia. So at the end of the lecture, I'm going to share my realization on why he did not kill Khalia, And then we'll end the discourse after that. Okay. So let's start with a little background for this pastime. I will do it very quickly, because most of you know about this, but please bear with me. Khalia is a serpent. He's a 1,000-hooded serpent, and he's a demon. And Khalia represents anger, pride, and hate. Right? These are the qualities that serpent represents. So Khalia is full of that. Khalia. When Khalia used to be in a river, and frequently that river was what do you call it, feasted by Garuda, right? Garuda. So in order to protect them from Garuda, the serpents in the lake or the river, they offered small offerings to Garuda, so Garuda would eat them and not attack them. But Khalia, as I said, he's full of pride, hate. So he was wondering why we should offer offer food to Garuda. So Khalia and Garuda ended up in a duel, and eventually Garuda was able to overcome Khalia, and he drove, and Khalia basically ran away into Yamuna River. He chose Yamuna River because he knows about the curse of Garuda, casted upon by Saubhari Muni, that if Garuda enters the waters of Yamuna near Vrindavan, then Garuda would die. So Khalia knows that, so he took his family members and entered the waters of river Yamuna. So now he's in the Yamuna River, and since Khalia is a 1,000-hooded serpent, there's a lot of poison in his body. So when he entered the Yamuna River, it was polluted with poison. Okay, so as a result, the water vapor from the river killed all the birds that flew above it, and also it killed the vegetation around that place. Now, Krishna, the Lord, along with his cowherd boys, was herding cows in a nearby field. And one day it was summer, and the cowherd boys felt thirsty, and so they went up to a lake to drink water, and they fell unconscious after drinking the water. So Krishna quickly understood that they were being poisoned by Khalia. So Krishna jumps into action to subdue Khalia and drive him away from the lake to protect his devotees. So now that's what. So now we're gonna go a little deeper and say, and when Krishna, so Krishna jumped into the river, and Khalia understood there's an intruder. So because Krishna made a splashing entry, and there was an intruder, so Khalia got in front of Krishna, and he basically saw a small boy. So he used with coils, he completely wound him up, and he bit on his chest. Okay, so Krishna was attacked by Khalia, and Khalia held him in his coils above the water. So Krishna, for a second or for a few minutes, he was pretending to have lost his consciousness due to this. And after seeing this, the whole village gathered, and they were like shocked. And there's a reason why Krishna intentionally acted as like unconscious, right? Because Krishna wanted to enjoy the emotions of, or the feelings of, the Brajavasis about love, separation, and those kinds of intense emotions, and seeing the deer and near being held by or being held by a demoness serpent. So he wanted to enjoy that the love they are able to show as when they saw that scene. So he enjoyed that, and then now it's time to jump into action. So he jumped into action to subdue Khalia. So he jumped into it by step by then and basically growing up in size. So Khalia couldn't hold it in coils, and he landed on the hood of the serpent. So we're going to stop here, and then we're going to kind of like analyze this pastime from here, okay? Because, like I said, I could narrate this pastime. You've heard it 1,000 times, but there are a lot of things that are hidden in this whole thing. So I'm trying to, like I said, you're all, most of them are advanced devotees, so you might have already known this, but I hope we have someone who would be able to hear it for the first time. So so we are at a point where Krishna has begun his attack on Khalia, right? He jumped on Khalia's hood. He's standing right there. So and so basically he that scene, the whole thing was is a spectacle to watch, right? Because Krishna was carefully jumping from one hood to another hood without getting bitten. Okay, but then this is like more than that, because this is a spectacle, because he's not just because Krishna was skillfully jumping from one head to another head without getting bitten while squashing it at the same time, but it also the platform in which he's doing. So he's basically landed on Khalia's hood. The hood, Khalia had a lot of, he's decorated with jewels on the hood as well. So there was a so Krishna was dancing on a stage which is decorated by a lot of jewels, and the Khalia's eyes are so red in color, and they were like shining red lights, because there are like 1,000 hoods, and there are many hoods that are popping up at the same time. So that whole Krishna was casted upon by a lot of spotlights, with red spotlights, if you can think of, right? That many eyes are focused on him, so there's a lot of red spotlights coming in, and he's on a platform where it is decorated with jewels. And when he squashed a hood, body of Khalia would just slightly go into the water, right, because of the pressure. So the water made some noise, right? So I mean, some music. So with Krishna jumping, lights flashing, and a beautiful stage decorated with jewels, and then sound of the river Yamuna, they are, all of them are like a music party, right? So it was a spectacle to watch that with complete, this kind of stuff. So that's why it's people are awestruck by watching, all the Brajavasis are awestruck by watching Krishna do this. So that's what Krishna was doing, and when he stepped on the hood will get smashed, but another hood will pop up, because Khalia has got 1,000 hoods. So when one squashes down, another one will pop up, and he squashes that, and another one will pop up. So that is something that was equated to, or like synonymous to, desires that we have in our mind. So when one desire, you have a desire, many desires, right? So if you, after overcoming one desire, there's another desire pops up. There's another, after overcoming that, another desire pops up. So it is a conditioning of the soul in the material world. So it's one after other, Like for some people, it's infinite hoods. So if you have infinite desires, you are like infinite hoods. You have infinite. So one going to pop up one after other. So these desires are something that we need, something that needs our full attention, right? Because desires can lead to expectations, and if those expectations were not fulfilled or not met, then we will have moods of angriness, lust, or anything will pop up, right? And that is going to, as we all know in Bhagavad Gita, krodhat bhavati sammoha, right? Anger creates delusion, and at the end of the day, whoever has this anger, they fall down into material plane again. So they lose composure. So desires are something that we need to talk about. So the desires are also important part of Buddhism, right? So, but in Buddhism, we have four noble truths of Buddhism, right? The four noble truths the four noble truths are called dukkha and samudaya, nirodha, and magga, right? These are the four noble truths. Dukkha means we all know that is a dukkhalaya swashvatam, right? This is a place of unhappiness and hypocrisy and things like that. So this is a world of misery. That's what dukkha is. And this is kind of like Buddhism kind of aligns up with Hinduism as well in that. And then samudaya. Samudaya is a desire, and samudaya means desire causes suffering. Right? That's what it means. These are the Buddha's noble truths. And third one is nirodha. Nirodha means regulating the desires. So you had to regulate the desires in order if you want to be able to be successful and to want to break the samsara sakra. So the nirodha regulating the desires is good enough. And then magga means is basically the meditation or devotional service. So with that, we should be able to overcome the cycle of birth and death. Right? That's Buddhism. So the desire is not only deemed as an important things to curb in Hinduism, but also in Buddhism and many religions. These are the cause of main suffering. So again, going back to Khalia, so that's when he checks popped up, and Krishna squashed one head over the other, one head over the other, and then finally Khalia, after Krishna breaking all the heads, Khalia finally gave up, right, and surrendered, and that is also synonymous that when desires of our heart gets killed or squashed or controlled, then we can see the Lord, right? So that is another important thing that that pastime tells you, that desires are multifaceted, that it will come different. One, once you squash one, other one will come, and it needs Lord like Krishna, like dancing on the head. Similarly, we need the power of the Lord to squash those desires. It's not that we could do it. It is too hard, but we need God's blessings to do that. And that is the second one. And basically, after the desires have been satisfied, we are not satisfied. I'm sorry, desires have been eliminated. Then we are able to see the Lord, right? So that's basically what this whole pastime was telling us. Not in terms of words, but it also kinds of from an observation perspective, right? So that's what it is. And moving on. So after Kaliya surrendered to Krishna, when all these poisonous foods were squashed, he surrendered to Krishna. And meantime, that's where the Nagapatnis come, right? And they saw Kaliya in a mood where he was surrendered to Krishna. So they have never seen Kaliya with that kind of face, right? They always seen him proud, angry, but they've never seen him in that kind of mood. So they understood very quickly that the person who is on top of Kaliya is not an ordinary person. So they start to offer obeisances and prayers, and they realize it's the Supreme Lord, so they offer obeisances to Supreme Lord. And I'm going to quickly share that because that's a very important one. Again, there's a lot of takeaways to do with that. Let me see. Share. So let's quickly read this translation, and then we'll go back to the lecture. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 16, verse 33. The wives of Kaliya serpent said, "The punishment this offender has been subject to is certainly just. After all, you have incarnated within this world to curb down envious and cruel persons. You are so impartial that you looked equally upon your enemies and your own sons. For when you impose a punishment on a living being, you know it to be for his ultimate benefit." Okay, so this is a highlight. The punishment given by Lord is for the ultimate benefit. And then we should read it with 34 as well to kind of like get the full context. So I'll read 34 as well. So what you have done here is actually mercy for us. Since the punishment you give to wicked certainly drives away all the contamination. Indeed, because his conditioned soul or husband is so sinful that he has assumed the body of a serpent, your anger toward him is obviously to be understood as your mercy. So this is a very striking prayer, because this certainly tells that the Nagapatnis are really elevated souls, right? Because they are seeing there's not typical reaction to this kind of to this situation, because typically when we see your near and dear being almost hit or hurt to a level of death, beaten to death or something close to that, then we're going to get really angry on person who inflicted that pain. But here the Nagapatnis demonstrated a different kind of attitude where they are saying like, the anger is justified, right? So that is something very, very striking compared to the usual, compared to the normal souls, right? I used to go to India, and one of my friend, I visited him last time. He has a room full of dedicated for deities. That he has got all deities there, and every day he used to decorate the room with the flowers, incense, and prayers morning, afternoon, and evening, right? So he did a very regular in that. So all the vendors for flowers and vendors for fruits, they are that house is a standard stop, because they know that this person buys the flowers and fruits to offer into the deities in the room. But when I visited them this time, I saw the room was empty. Like there's nothing, no deities, nothing. It was like lights were turned off, and it was like, and then but the person has been going through a cancer. So then the the basically the person, my friend, he took away, because he was so upset with God that he took away all the decorations, and he stopped worshiping God completely. And he said, like, what, God put me in the bed, so why should I talk to him? I gave him flowers, I brought him fruits every day, I laid incense, I prayed 3 times a day, and finally I got his cancer. So, and then why should I do prayers anymore if he's going to put me in bed? That was his argument. And that's when this really struck me, that Nagapatni's prayers really struck me when he said that. And I was like quickly contrasting, like, how a normal conditioned soul thinks about God's mercy versus conditioned soul. So same situation, right? Like it's all about, they are all both out in the same situation, but one reacts in a very material way, the other one reacts in a more transcendental way, elevated way, right? So and I understood that the person, my friend, was having very transactional relationship with the God. So I give you this flowers, fruits, and you give me money, right? That's basically what the transactional relationship. It's not bhakti, it's not love or anything like that. So it's just very transactional. So God figures it out, and he in order to turn him into a real devotee, he has given him that punishment. It's actually a mercy. So he will think about Lord even more. But then the conditioned soul, doesn't think that way. So kind of like went in a different direction and against God itself. So same as like Khalia, right? He bit Krishna, right? Similarly, right? The person said, "Okay, no, I'm not going to offer you anything." So it's very similar. So this is a stark contrast between a conditioned soul, a normal conditioned soul, and an elevated soul. So this is something that we should keep in our mind, and we should try to be in this mood when anything that doesn't go in our way, right? If something doesn't go in our way, we should think about it as mercy, and hopefully God gives us that power to be able to discriminate that correctly, right? So that is an important thing that stood out for me. So then moving on. So Nagapatni is offer different prayers to Krishna. and Krishna gets pleased with the prayers, and Krishna got down from Kalia's head, and basically then Kaliya started to regain composure. And there's a beautiful verse that I want to share again. After Kaliya regained composure, he asks very good question. Now you can see from a pride, anger-filled serpent here, stinging the Lord, to a more with a person with a lot of discrimination. Like you can see what the Lord's feet on Kalia's head had resulted in, right? So the clear thinking and discrimination. So this is what he says: "O Supreme Personality of Godhead, among those species within your material creation, we serpents are by nature always enraged. Being thus deluded by your illusory energy, which is very difficult to give up, how can we possibly give it up on our own?" What a question, right? So Kaliya is asking, like, I'm part of the material creation, right? I'm designed to behave this way. How can I give it up on our own, right? So that's what he was asking, and basically it's not necessarily a question. It's basically a realization on part of Krishna, realization on part of Kaliya, saying, and he's kind of like justifying the anger that our mercy shown by Krishna himself. So there's a nice, beautiful purport, just 3 lines, and let's read that. So Kaliya here is indirectly begging for the Lord's mercy, realizing that on his own, this is a very key point, that on his own, he can never become free from illusion and suffering. Only by surrendering to the Lord and obtaining his mercy can one be released from the painful conditions of material life. So beautiful purport. Right? Just 3 lines, but sums it up all, right? So again, this is pretty interesting that we cannot relieve ourselves from this material world without without Lord's mercy. So then how do we then get Lord's mercy? The Lord's mercy is available to you by following this 9 stages of Bhakti Yoga, right? So it says Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishta, Ruchi, Ashakti, Bhava, Prema, right? And then the more important is the Bhajana Kriya. So Bhajana Kriya is performance of devotional service. And what are those 9 processes of devotional service? Here it is: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet, deity worship, praying, executing orders, serving as a friend, complete surrender. So these 9 processes of devotional service. So if you follow the 9 processes of devotional service, we can do 9 stages of Bhakti Yoga, right? Finish up 9 stages of Bhakti Yoga. And if we do 9 stages of Bhakti Yoga, then we get Lord's mercy and we relieve from material conditions of life. I think we are at 7:30. Let me stop here, and thank you so much for listening to my lecture. Appreciate your time. Hope it was useful, and hope it was purifying. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. That was a fantastic presentation, Prabhu. We really liked it. Very beautiful narration. You started with the narration of the pastime. And Prabhu, it's always very, very pleasing to hear Krishna's pastimes. We can hear it again and again from devotees. No matter how many times we hear, it's just always so pleasing. And you very nicely told about desires. When desires are not met and we become angry and disillusioned, and how desires cause suffering. And for the desires to go away from our heart, only then when the desires go away from the heart, we can see the Supreme Lord. And that can only happen by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And you gave very good examples from the other religions as well. And punishment given by the Lord is the ultimate for our ultimate benefit. And I really like the example you gave of your friend's personal life. And finally, the point that you made beautifully, you expressed that on our own, we cannot become free from the illusion. And only by following the 9 stages of bhakti and the 9 processes can we get the mercy of the Lord. So very beautifully, you summarized the points. And thank you, Prabhu, for giving the presentation on BhagavatSanga. This is your first time. I missed saying in the beginning, but this is your first time on BhagavatSanga. So it was really very beautiful. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
With that, thank you so much, devotees, for joining the BhagavatSanga program today. We will see you all next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhakaran Prabhu, for the wonderful class.
Thank you, Mataji.
Very nicely explained.